So, hello guys, welcome back to channel Get to Byte once again. I hope you all are doing great and are working fine. So, following with the firmware development series and its tutorials and making you understand on how to write the device driver and application codes. Soon I will be starting with application codes also. Now in this video I will be covering the SPI protocol, serial communication protocol on our STM32 microcontrollers that previously I have done UART. Now we will be doing with the SPI. First of all, we are going to implement it with the normal while looping concept, then making it little advanced by DMA and interrupt, and then also in between these videos I am going to tell you on how to make your own libraries just like the HAL APIs which we have, like in the STM32F1 HAL. If you open its documentation, then the APIs which we use in the HAL live, okay. So those proper functions, structures, classes, those kind of videos or concepts I have also started working on, and its related videos will also be soon uploaded. It's like advancing our now the bare metal codes which we are making now to more advanced levels so that they can be portable and reusable. Okay, so now moving forward. Yeah, before moving forward, there's a short thing which I would like to tell you, that the SPI peripheral bare metal code which I have developed on the STM32F407 STM32 microcontroller, because it's in a need for it has come in my internship, so I have to make the peripheral bare metal code on it. But don't worry guys, the code for peripheral for SPI is not very much different. It's almost 90 to 95% the code for F103 or F407 is almost same. The only thing where you have to take and point is on allotting your GPIO pins, allotting them their alternative function registers. That I will tell you in the next upcoming videos when I will show you real bare metal code. In this video I am just going to tell you about its SPI introduction in STM32 microcontrollers and its basic features and what all registers are there for making our embedded C code. And the registers for F103, or you can say for any STM32 microcontroller, is almost like 95%. All of them are same logic, same bytes and same bits have to be enabled and disabled for a particular feature. Only bits might be less or more depending upon the SPI individual peripheral features which are advanced in a particular kind of microcontrollers. Like in F407 we have quad SPI also, and we have many extra features in SPI, and its clock frequency is much more than STM F103. So correspondingly some bits are more or less, that I will tell you consequently. But just a thing to tell, that if you are working on bare metal on a particular kind of microcontroller of STM32, you just do the bare metal on it properly, and then you will see that another microcontroller of STM32 only of any family, you can easily import your codes, you can easily understand, and almost all the bytes and bits are completely same. Okay, so this is just a thing which I would like to tell, which I want to tell before I proceed further with SPI. Now getting started with our SPI firmware development. So guys, first starting with the SPI features, one more thing to tell you is that SPI and I2S, don't get confused. I2S is for our audio, it's an audio peripheral, and SPI is a serial communication peripheral. For now, we are only concentrating on our SPI, not focusing on I2S. So only focus on the SPI blocks and the features. I2S we also cover in the next upcoming videos. Okay, so SPI features are like full duplex synchronous transfers on 3 lines. As you know, SPI operates on 3 lines, MOSI, MISO and SCK. So it's in a full duplex synchronous transfer. Synchronous as we are using the clock. Okay, and just a second. A simple synchronous transfer on 2 lines with or without a bidirectional data line. This means that we can also operate our SPI on full duplex, on half duplex also, that is only one end receiving and that end is not able to transmit. So receiving only on the clock pulses SCK and the MOSI line. And the 8 or 16-bit transfer frame format, we can transfer data on at a time at a 8-bit or a 16-bit data. master or slave operation. As we all know, SPI operates on master and slave thing. Multi-master mode capability, as we know that it might be sometimes we need to operate more than one SPI masters and slave devices, so one can operate a multi-master kind of thing also. And yeah, one more thing to tell you is that SPI peripheral is mainly used for the, it's at a very high clock frequency, more frequency than I2S, but it uses more wires. I hope you all must know this. So SPI peripheral is mainly used with our memory cards, with our SPI flash memories, with the RAM or ROM, because as these are very fast protocols operating at around 500 megahertz also, or 133 megahertz, so one can very quickly read and write our ROM and memory for a critical kind of situations. And 8 master mode baud rate prescaler, that is we have baud the frequency at which SPI will be run. So we have 8 baud rates by which we can divide our peripheral bus clock frequency. Slave mode frequency is also same. Faster communication for both master slave. NSS management by hardware or software for both master and slave. This means that for like in a traditional master SPI, the SPI slave gets activated when its chip select pin or its SS pin is kept at low. In the STM32 microcontrollers or on high-end microcontrollers, we have this feature that we can, without using our SCE chip on the onboard on the hardware, we can do this by software only. Okay. So that thing I will tell you, that thing is what we call as NSS management, in which we don't need our extra chip select pin, only just 3 pins SCK, MOSI and MISI, and then we will communicate with the slave. Programmable clock polarity and phase, as we all know CPHA and CPOL are the clock frequency bytes and bits for our clock configuration bits for our SPI. Programmable data order with MSB first or LSB first, that is either send first MSB bit or LSB bit. So that thing can also be programmed by a single bits. And then dedicated transfer and reception flags, SPI bus mode, busy spec like busy bus state flag is SPI TI mode. Okay. So, and yeah, this is very important, hardware CRC feature in the automatic CRC error checking for last received byte. As I have told in the previous videos, the need and the use of CRC. So in the SPI, we will be able to we can use CRC for checking whether the data is transmitted correctly or received correctly. Okay, so these are all the features which are there in the SPI. Now coming to its block diagram, as we all know that in SPI we have 4 pins. MOSI, MISO, SCK and NSS. MISO pin, at MOSI pin master will send the microcontroller, if configured, will send the data, and at MISO we will receive the data. SCK is the clock frequency pin. Okay, and this is the block diagram. In the block diagram, the main area to focus on is this one, yeah, the address or data bus gets the fill our TX buffer, that is the data which has to be transmitted. It writes it on the TX buffer, then from TX buffer it gets shifted into the shift register, and via MOSI line it gets output to a slave SPI. And in case of the receiving the data, the MISO line will get the data, will give the data to the shift register will transfer the data to my RX buffer, and from RX buffer I will read the data via address or data bus. So this is the main block diagram which you have to concentrate on SPI, and these are all the configuration and the other registers which we will be going to use. The main register which we are going to use is the, of course, SPI status register, because in this only from the TXC and RXNE flag we are going to know that when our data has been received or transmitted. And then from the configuration registers, SPI CR1 and SPI CR2, mainly SPI CR1 will be used for our enabling our receiver and transmitter and SPI and general configuration, and the SPI CR1 is basically for enabling our configuration or interrupts of our SPI. Okay, and the baud rate generator is also in our SPI CR1 register. Okay, so now moving forward with our slave select pin management. So as I have told you that the slave select pin can be configured from hardware and from software side, both side, that is software NSS management. The slave select information is driven internally by the value of SSI bit in our SPI underscore CR1 register. The external SSS pin remains free for other application uses. That is, we can do the communication only on our 3 pins MOSI, MISO and SCK, and chip select pin will not be used, and depending upon our value of our SSI bit, we can configure that when slave will be activated when we want to send data and communicate from our slave. And another option is the normal traditional way in which the hardware management is used, in which we set our SSM bit slave select management to the bit 0 to the X0, and in this we can configure in 2 ways also. Again, NSS output enabled, NSS output disabled. In that case, SSOE bit or bits decide that output is enabled or disabled. The NSS signal is kept driven low when the master starts the communication and is kept low until SPI is disabled. That is, the output NSS pin is kept low for starting our SPI communication, and when we want to end our SPI communication, we simply disable our SPI peripheral, the peripheral of our STM32 microcontroller. We does not set high to our NSS pin. Okay, whereas in output disabled, NSS pin act as classical NSS input. The slave is selected when NSS is low and deselected when NSS is high. So in our code, we are going to use this configuration only. As you can see here also, that in our SPI.C code, I have configured this thing. Slave select pin setting. SSM bit is 0 and SSOE bit is also 0, which is this NSS output disabled when I will set the NSS low and NSS high. So, and the clock phase and clock polarity is the normal one in which we will be configuring our NSS CPHL and CPL bits. And okay, so the basic overview which I want to give you is this only. Now the next things about the embedded C code and the bare metal code, like which I have written the functions over here and how do we enable it and disable it, that I am going to tell you in the next upcoming videos. Okay, so till then guys, stay safe, stay subscribed to my Get to Byte channel. Mention down any queries, any reviews in the below comment section, and just subscribe to just press the notification bell to get notified for new upcoming amazing videos.